You're listening to the InFocus Interview Show, brought to you by photofocus.com, an online publication filled with education and inspiration for visual storytellers. This episode is made possible by our partners, Lume Cube, the world's most versatile light, and Drobo, a smart storage solution. Now here's your host, Vanelli.
Hello and welcome. I'm Vanelli. Now, my guest is the general manager of the premier metal printing and project management company, Image Wizards. He has a unique task, not just managing the company, but also he creates educational content teaching how to get the most out of metal printing. Please welcome Mirza Izic. Hello, Mirza.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Well, hey, thank you so much. Now, our topic today is how to get the most out of metal printing. And you have a wealth of information you want to share with us.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
And first, let me give you a couple, well, let's put it this way. A couple, the old wives' tales. People would say, well, I can hand them a postage stamp the size of an image, and they can make this thing into an 8-foot by 12-foot print just flawlessly. We could do so much, but come on, that's just a little excessive. And of course, the other, the old wives' tale was, excuse me, that it's better to send sRGB versus RGB or ProPhoto. And I guess these are things you'll be talking to us about.
Yes, sir.
On how to fix it. So take it away.
Okay. All right. Well, yep. So like you said, we are, metal printers, but we also manage projects. And so, what that means is when the customer comes to the website or when they give us a call, we're not just interested in taking your money. We want to make sure that the final product looks good. And if we see any red flags for whatever reason, whether it's, color space issues, gamut issues, whether it's, you're pushing the image too high and it's starting to fall apart in terms of size and DPI, then, we actually call you and make you a part of the process of fixing that and getting a new file in or, fixing whatever the issue is, because, we have 100% satisfaction guarantee. So if you get your print and you don't like it for whatever reason, we'll either, reprint it, refund it, or, work together on another solution. So I guess, the first, and if I'm rambling too much, stop me and, I can explain further.
That means you're excited.
Yeah, for sure.
Not a problem.
All right. So to start with, I just want to go ahead and let the pros that are listening know TIFF format is preferred because it's lossless. We work in the Adobe RGB 1998 color space. And typically we recommend 300 DPI at size. So if you're printing a 20 by 30, if it's, scaled to 300 DPI, you'll be all set. So I can explain that further.
And DPI is dots per inch versus the old PPI, pixels per inch. So I'm looking at this from, let's say, my sister's perspective. My sister who's not a photographer, but she loves printing everything. Mm-hmm. So, and you and I were mentioning this. So imagine either myself or her giving you a print, and you're basically going to walk us through what it takes to make that look perfect on the wall.
Right. Yep.
Perfect.
Okay. All right. So, number one, I guess, it's very important for you to know how to scale your image and how to, actually see the DPI, the dots per inch, and make sure that how your resolution is going to hold up to whatever size you're printing at. And so, one of the things that you can do with us is before you ever even place an order, we've got a separate FTP page that you can send in your files, and we charge nothing to review them with you, because it's one thing to discuss an image, on the phone, but it's another thing like if you send it in and we can talk about it, and that's prior to ever placing an order, because we want to make sure you're going in and you're comfortable. So to begin, whether you're working in Photoshop, Lightroom, we've got. If you go to the website and you click on resources in the top right corner, we've got blog posts and we've got videos on how to do this on, either of those photo editing platforms. But the easiest way that I've found, and I'm just going to talk about Photoshop here, but again, the Lightroom guide is also on our website. enabling your ruler on screen and then zooming in on your screen or out so that an inch on the digital ruler would match an inch to a real life ruler that you're holding up to the screen. And if you do that, if you set your file up that way, people always ask, how large can I go? Well, that's a pretty, subjective answer, because, some people that upload files, they understand that they're going, too high, with what their file is capable of. And so they're okay with it. So the number one thing is, make sure your image can even go to the size that you're interested in. And so, once you do that, we need to make sure that, we are actually able to hit all the colors in the gamut that you're working in. And so, one of the things that we always ask people to do is change your color space in whatever, software you're using to Adobe RGB 1998. And then what that will do is, if we download your file and we open it and, we run a gamut warning, which shows you, for the listeners, it shows you, what colors you are not able to actually hit in the process. And I mean, Adobe RGB 1998 is it used to be the gold standard, like you said, there's more sRGB, more ProPhoto now, but RGB is actually a very wide color gamut. So we usually don't have issues hitting color, but that's step number 2, right? So make sure that we can hit the colors that you want. And so, those are really the main things. I initially said 300 DPI at size. That's like the rule of thumb. You want to, you're talking about old wives' tales and sayings, you put good in and you get good out. So the more data you put in, the better the final product is going to be. And so, I say to all the photographers out there that have, tried metal before, that, you went to the metal printer and you uploaded your file and they said, no, we have to have a JPEG. That's not Image Wizards. If all you have is a JPEG and that you're working with, that's fine. But we always recommend, shooting RAW and then saving TIFF or saving in any other lossless format, because we want that precious data that's in all of your photos. So if you've got, file sizes upwards of 1 gig, 2 gigs, that's perfect. That's exactly the file that we want, because, with large format, the more data you have in it, the better and clearer and crisper the final product is going to be.
And that's the key word, large format. If you're
Right.
putting an 8x10, which is going to be seen, at arm's reach, again, 300 DPI, 8x10 is going to be a smaller file.
That's
than
right.
than a 24 by 36.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm glad you brought that up. That's a great point.
Cool. So, I guess, let's start. So, we've kind of discussed, the format, we've discussed the color space, and we've discussed a little bit the DPI. So the rule of thumb, is typically 300 DPI gets you a really nice photo, but we've printed things as low as, 70, 80, 90 DPI. We've got HD processing that we can offer internally, and it works on like 9.9 images out of 10. The images that are really kind of difficult to work with are the ones that are like, sub 100 KB that people send in, which is 1/10 of 1 megabyte. It's hard to get a really good image out of something like that. But, we rarely ever turn people away at the door. I mean, usually there's a dialogue opened, and then, we discuss what their options are. And sometimes that involves us, sending proofs, digital proofs, to the customer. Hey, this is how the file came in. Here is what it's going to look like after we process it. Would you like to proceed? And so then that leads into, so many people are worried about printing on metal because they're like, well, they're more expensive, which, if you're comparing it to a paper print, yes, aluminum is more expensive than that. But by the time you get it framed, get glass, get the matting, the labor of putting it all together, their metal prints are actually a lot more approachable now than they used to be, for sure. So, anybody can do it. But if you're ever worried about how your stuff is going to produce, we actually offer press proofs on the metal. And so what that means is if you place an order on our website, about halfway through the order process, it's going to ask you, would you like to see a proof? So what a proof is, it's $25 added to the order per file. But what it does is for each file, you get 2 pieces of metal actually shipped to your house. So you get an overall, so the whole thing but smaller, so you can make sure all the colors are right. And then you get a detail. So on the actual metal, you get a section. Usually they're about 8 by 10 in size. Sometimes if it's a panoramic, we'll kind of make some funky sizes for the customer. But usually it's 8 by 10. And so, you would be actually getting a piece on the finish of your choice of the actual aluminum to review, to hold up in the light, to, kind of set it up where it's going to hang and kind of step back. We can also drop ship these blind to your customers. Like if you're selling the work and you want a customer to see it and approve it, and then, give you the green light, then you give us the green light. I mean, we work with all kinds of different people that have all kinds of different, ways that they do business.
Wow. Let me step in from it. That
Sure.
from a business perspective, that makes my business look even larger.
Oh, for sure.
Say, hey, let me send you a sample of that. That's part of the $25 that we've already added to the order. To them, it's like, wow, look at this.
Mm-hmm.
They even sent me a sample piece to see what the image is going to look like on metal. I think that's awesome. And I like how you're saying it's sent blind, so it doesn't look like it came from you. It looked like it came from us.
That's right. Yep. Yes, sir. And so, we ship the proof blind. Your customer gets back to you, you get back to us, and then we ship the final, again, blind wherever you want it to go. Now, here's something else really cool. If you do any kind of printing at home, so if you've got your Epson, if you've got your, small Canon printer or whatever, and you're making paper prints at home that you really like, you can actually mail us a paper print and we will match to that. Because, I'm sure how important it is. You can be looking at a color calibrated monitor. I can be looking at a color calibrated monitor, but we can still be looking at 2 totally different images. Unfortunately, there's so many, different variables that you have to keep track of. But when you send us a paper print that your eyes have seen, and now you're mailing us that, and we're looking at that exact thing that you like, there are no variables. This is what we have to match to. And so, a lot of people really like that because then we know and they know that the very first proof set that we send them is our best stab at it. And the cool thing about it is, it's $25, but you get the 2 pieces of aluminum. It includes the shipping charge. And, if you're maybe interested in like another finish, if you're like, oh, well, I don't know if I like the metallic finish or the white finish, we can also throw in like an extra proof or 2 on the different finishes so you can review it. And, for $25, you never have to wonder, what if I'd gone with that other finish? Exactly what it's going to be. And then you can keep those proofs to use as sales tools for future, future projects that you're working on. So that's, that's about proofing. So, if anyone's like really particular about color, most specifically, black and whites, that's what I hear all the time that, people tried metal that, they mainly, do black and white photography and, their metal prints would normally have a cast. And we're more than familiar with that. I mean, you would think that black and white is the easiest thing to do. To print. And typically it would be because you're just using black and then the white is just the absence of any ink on the paper. However, when it comes to metal, we deal with several phase shifts. And I've got an article about that as well. If you go on the blog, on the website, there's, I think it's called like Image Wizard's Color or something like that. But basically, when you go into this article, it's going to explain to you all the different things that we have to go through to make sure that we are matching the color that we know you're expecting. So I just checked now. The article is called Color Accuracy with Metal Prints. And so, these phase shifts that I'm talking about, what that means is when we get the ink, it's in a liquid form. Okay. First, we have to print your work on a high release dye carrier paper. So right there, it went from being a liquid into being a solid in the paper. Typically, when you're on a regular printer, that's it, right? You've got your ink, you've got a paper print, and then you're done. But see, now that we have the paper, we have to, affix that to the aluminum, and then we send that through our heat press, which uses high heat and high pressure to literally turn those dyes that are, first liquid, then a solid. Now it turns them into a vapor, and it literally burns them into the coating onto the aluminum, which then re-enters a solid form. And so because we have all those phase shifts, and each of those phase shifts, have color changes, which is why, your printer has a color profile and your screen has a color profile, because, we try to standardize as much as we can, just so that, what you're expecting from us is what you end up getting. And so, these phase shifts, we actually take your file, whether you order a proof or not, we proof every single file that comes through these doors. So whether it's a 16 by 20 print, whether it's a 4 foot by 8 foot print, which is the largest single panel we can do, but we've done, murals and 150 foot walls and all that. But, that is, definitely one of the major things that we do on the back end for the customer. When we get your file, we proof it on the metal, whether we send it to you or not, and then we hold it up to the screen, the color calibrated screen. And so then we look, is this good enough? No, are the blues not blue enough? Are the blues too green? Or, we look at all that, and we make changes, we proof it again, we hold it up to the screen again. And so we're doing this repeatedly until we're happy with it, because we look at your work as if it was our own work, and we're not going to send it out, if it's not perfect.
What I'm hearing a lot, and I really like, is your attention to detail, your pride and your attention to detail that you guys are showing. That's why every time I've seen an Image Wizards print, it just absolutely looks magnificent. So now I see why. You're only showing your best prints.
Well, and part of that is definitely, we're really passionate about what we do, and we all enjoy what we do, and we have a lot of fun. And, some of the videos on the website, you can see, we kind of goof around, and it's a good time. But also, internally, we keep track of that, how many orders ship out, how many, people are unhappy with. And, right now, our happy orders is above 99%. So, there are some issues, and usually, I would say, 9 times out of 10, it's either just a misunderstanding, or, it's just needs some tweaking and just needs another set of proofs. And then usually, we can nail it on the second shot. So, it's one of those things where we have that 100% satisfaction guarantee. And, you make money the first time you do a job. But, if the customer calls you and they're like, no, this isn't, what I expected, and you're either having to redo it or refund it, then you're not making money anymore. So it's, it's definitely part business, but, we very much care about what the product looks like, because, it's, you got it from us. And so it's got to be good. It's got to be right.
Well, that's awesome. And so what's the next phase now? So now that we know everything's looking awesome.
Yep.
Like you said, the black and white prints.
Yeah. So
what's our next step?
Sure. So you've got actually 2 options, right? You can either go onto the website, click order. There's a big giant red order button across the top of the page. You can click on that, and it's literally like a step-by-step process where it asks you, what size do you want the print to be? What finish do you want it on? And as you're going through the process, there's links where you can see videos of the different finishes, videos of the explanations of the different frame options that you've got, because it is a little overwhelming the first time you go. But again, we don't charge anything for somebody just to give us a call, and we'll go through stuff with you. And I've explained so many different, aspects of Photoshop and Lightroom to people on the phone, but that's what we do. We're not just going to say, hey, that's not our problem, call someone else. Like, we want to get you through it and get you onto the site. So,
well, I like that, because I'll have to admit myself, sometimes when you're caught with too many options, you get overwhelmed and like, forget it.
Right.
And I like what you said, where if I ask for a proof and I decide, well, you know what would it look like if you also added, you said there's different options.
That's right.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah. So let me actually go into those different options, because some people might be wondering. And again, all this stuff is on the website in more detail, but we've got 3 finishes that have a white base coat, and then we have 2 finishes that do not. And so the difference with that means is the 3 white finishes that we have are ultra gloss, semi-gloss, and matte. So you've just got, semi-gloss, which is the middle ground, and then you've got, the gloss and the matte. And then we have the lightly brushed finishes that don't have the white. And so what's going to happen is anywhere in the photo that you do have white, that drops out and it allows that aluminum to show through, giving it kind of like a metallic holographic sort of look.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. It works really well on some things and then, not at all on others. And that's something, that you can also kind of rest easy that, if you were to place an order completely blind and you're like, hey, I'm not going to order the secondary proof, but I really like the sound of this finish. If we think it's going to look terrible, even if you didn't ask us, we'll call you and tell you, hey, you don't want to do this. And just to give you an example, like we had a guy do a photo of polar bears. And it was just the mama bear and the two cubs in the middle of the snow. And there wasn't a lot of other detail, right? It was just white and then just the three bears and they're also white. And he chose the lightly brushed finish. And I'm like, look, man, you don't want to do that because all of that white is just going to show through as the aluminum. And so literally you're just going to have a floating set of eyes and a floating set of noses. And it's just, this is not the right finish for you. And so, we'll call you, we'll talk you through it. You don't have to worry, like, if I place this order, what if I hate it? Like, we won't let that happen.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Now, these files are absolutely huge, I assume.
Yes.
So what we'll do is the next step is looking, as how to get these huge files to you.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that on this final stage.
Okay.
But before we do, let's just pause for a moment and thank our partners.
Lume Cube. Lume Cube is proudly known as the world's most versatile light. It's the smallest, lightest, most compact professional lighting solution on the market. Lume Cube represents the future of LED lighting and is a must-have for anyone looking to create better photos and video. Check out the new Lume Cube strobe, offering anti-collision lighting for drones at lumecube.com. Drobo. Drobo is a smart storage solution that protects photos, videos, and more from hard drive failure, giving peace of mind for the working pro or serious amateur who have a lot of external drives cluttering up their desktop. Save 10% at drobostore.com with the coupon code PHOTOFOCUS.
And we're back with the general manager of the premier metal printing and project management company, Image Wizards, Mirza Izic. The question before the break was, how do we upload this huge file to you?
Yeah. So if you go onto our website and you click order across the top, like I said before, it'll go through that whole process with you step by step. Eventually, you're going to get to the part where it asks you to upload your file. Now, here's the important part. Some of the other metal printers that exist out there, they allow you to upload your image and crop it and change the colors all in the browser. And while that sounds really cool, when you're dealing with a gig file, a gig and a half file, browsers are not really designed to process these giant files. If they did, then Photoshop and all these other programs wouldn't be doing so well. So it's very important to us that by the time you're getting to upload, the file's already ready. So the reason that when you go to these other metal printers, a lot of them have a JPEG requirement. And that's because, when you do upload directly to a site to do any kind of editing like that, or to protect their server space, the JPEG files are smaller. So if you have a really large file that won't upload through the standard uploader that's on the page, because I think there's like a 40, 50 meg limit, what we do is we send you, it's called imagewizards.wetransfer.com. And we have a link to this on our website. But basically what that allows you to do is when you get to the portion on our page where it asks you to upload your file, you can click on, I'm going to upload my file another way. And then that way you can, proceed with the process, go ahead and order the print. And then you go to this other secondary page, the imagewizards.wetransfer.com. And then that you can upload up to 20 gigs in a single transfer. And and it doesn't ask you to make an account. You don't have to put in your information again. We automatically link it, for you based on your email address with your order. So that WeTransfer is where we typically, point all of our pros that have the giant files to upload that way.
Let's go back to using my sister Maria as the example. I know she doesn't have Photoshop, and for her to enlarge a file, I know that's a little bit over her head. How do you guys help with that?
Yeah, so we'll, like I said initially, we are a project management company. And so, if she has any kind of need, whether it's enlarging the image, if she wants us to make it pop, boost the color, saturation, if she wants us to clone out something that she doesn't want in the photo, all of that top to bottom we can handle. So all you have to do is get us the best version of the file that you can, just in terms of most data retained, and then we have everything else covered for you.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing. Because again, I can see somebody like her who doesn't have the graphics background to be a little intimidated by it. But for her to say, hey, here's the best image that I have, you guys will look at it and say, all right, hey, this is great. We need to enlarge the file. And while we're at it, let's enhance these colors for you. I think that's right. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we have fun with it. It's cool.
Oh, that's amazing. Yep. All right, so now my file is to you. We got it there.
Yep.
How long does it usually take to print?
Sure. So what's really cool is, with all this COVID stuff going on, we were on a kind of reduced schedule where we had to do like an A day, B day kind of thing just to keep the employees separate, and just social distancing. But Monday this week was our first day back as a full team. And so, we're back to our usual guarantee. 98% of our orders ship within 1 week of being placed. And so, that includes just in-house orders. If you want a proof, obviously, proofs typically ship within 24 to 48 hours. And then, we can always expedite them to you, or if you're on the East Coast, we typically just ship it ground because we're located in North Carolina. But so proofs 2 days or so to go out. And then, once you approve it, once you give us a call, if you're calling just to say, hey, I love the proof, go ahead with the final, the very next day, the final ships.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. And then size-wise, what's the maximum size you can print?
So I really don't want to give you an answer to that because we haven't seen it yet. We actually did. I'm like the front end guy. Whenever you call and have questions and want to put an order through, you'll deal with me. Bernie in studio is who you'd be talking to about like the really technical side of the business. But what I will tell you is we've done files upwards of 1-2 terabytes. It was
wow.
It was an image that a guy, he took Star Wars and he took all the different scenes from it, the stills, and drew a picture of all the Star Wars characters using all the movie scenes. And it was The Last Supper, but with Star Wars characters. And
interesting.
Yeah. And that file, I mean, it was upwards, or I can't remember. And I mean, something like that, obviously it doesn't need, you would never need that size of a file, but I'm just saying, an extreme case. So we never ask people to shrink their file down. I mean, if it'll fit into that 20 gig uploader, use that. And if it can't, I mean, if you have an image larger than that, which I doubt, I mean, 99.99% of people ever will, you can always just mail us a flash drive, and we can just pull the file that way.
Oh, that's great. So, I mean, now as for the printing size, in the past, I know there was some metal companies had print limitation, like 23 by 23.5 by
I got you.
36 inches. Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah. You can actually print a full sheet on metal.
That's right. So the largest single panel we can do is 4 foot by 8 foot. But to answer your question, no, we do not hold you to any predetermined cookie cutter ratio. So if you have a panoramic that's 6 inches by 96 inches, power to you. Whatever crop you have, we can do that. We don't have a predetermined list.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So in 4 by 8 is your typical V flat or your sheetrock, the size of a sheetrock. when you're doing walls. So that's an outrageously large print. Now, what do I need to do to take care of my print once I have it?
Yeah, sure. So they're actually extremely durable. If you get a glossy print, you can actually use car wax and buff it. If you've got people coming over and it's got fingerprints on it, we don't recommend displaying them out in direct sunlight. So if you hang it, across from a window and it gets hit with sunlight 3-4 hours a day, that's not a big deal. But just outdoor, we don't recommend it. If it's in a sunroom and it's just, covered, if it's in a shady spot, that's fine. But in order to take care of it, just isopropyl alcohol, really Windex, any kind of non-abrasive cleaner. You don't want to use Ajax. And you definitely don't want to try to use car wax on a matte print because you heard me say that. Like, you want to leave the matte. But yeah, they're very durable. You can definitely get a key into it, but in terms of like handling it, getting a fingernail into it, that won't happen. They're a lot more durable than that.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing. So, all right, so you walked us through everything. So now I can see, like I said, I'll use my sister Maria as the example. I can see her wanting a beautiful print I have of my parents that I did. I restored it, their wedding photo. I can see her wanting that to be a 24 by 30 print.
Mm-hmm.
And based on everything you showed us so far or talked to us, it sounds very simple that she can actually go in, adjust the file size, make her changes to Adobe RGB, and upload it. But what I like best is with her non-technical abilities, she has you guys as consultants to make sure that the print comes out good.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing. Well, hey, where can we find out more about you?
Yeah, so
about
just
the company.
Yeah, go to imagewizards.com, and all of our stuff is on there. We're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. You can find us everywhere. But imagewizards.com is a great place to start. And clicking resources in the corner, it'll show you all the different videos and articles and blogs, and there's a bunch of information on there. And call anytime. We're very approachable. If you have a custom project you're working on, just give us a call. Worst thing we can do is work it out together. So it's all good. Just call us.
Hey, well, thank you so much, and thank you so much for taking time out to
no
actually
problem.
walk us through the steps.
Of course, anytime.
You are listening to the InFocus Interview Show. If you like these interviews, be sure to subscribe to our weekly Photo Focus podcast on photofocus.com. Thank you for joining us.